Hi, Cody Horton here. I'm going to talk to you about trance because trance is a natural state of mind. I took a stage hypnosis class in 1978, and this has convinced me that the trance state or hypnosis is real. Because when I had individuals up on stage, I was just blown away with the creativity. 3 out of 5 people can go in hypnosis, and that's what people, the hypnotists that do stage hypnosis, they know this, and so that's what they use. And I want to talk more about trance as far as the therapeutic part of it goes, but also how you can use the trance state for self-hypnosis. So what is trance? Well, trance is in the Bible. Peter fell into a trance. God made a deep sleep come over Adam. The trance state is a natural state of mind, and people are afraid of it, but you don't need to be afraid of it. So the fact is, there are many times, even 29 times or more, that you go in and out of hypnosis during the course of a normal day. And trance is really a type of absorption, and it happens when you're very relaxed or very focused. So have you ever missed your exit while driving, or have you ever driven a significant distance and not remembered? Or have you ever been watching a program on television when someone taps you on the shoulder and it startles you? Have you ever been reading a book and you lost time? These are just a few examples of the trance state, or what they call hypnosis. And to me, hypnosis is a misnomer because when it was coined by James Braid back in the early 20s, he used the word hypnosis and because it looked like sleep, but it's not sleep. It's just a different type of awareness. And actually, there is no end of waking trances that you or anyone can experience. There's 4 major trances, which are the love trance or the romance trance, the self-preservation trance, that's for safety, the self-image trance, and that's for approval, and the money trance, because money is a basis for survival. So you could actually sort of coin that with safety as well as control. So here's some spellbinding trances that everyone has experienced. And maybe some of you have seen it and some of you haven't, but Jaws was a huge hit. And everybody fell into the movie Trance because the music created the trance with just 2 notes. Da 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 da. It started to put people on their seats, and all of a sudden they knew that this big shark was going to come, or whatever you want to call it, this humongous monster was going to come and attack the ship. Well, everybody was in a trance state, and there was a little child this was when my husband was alive. We were in the movie theater. A little child jumped up and screamed when the head fell out of the bottom of the boat because the jaws had bitten a hole in it. And so anyway, long story short, he grabbed my husband's neck, and my husband screamed because the little kid screamed. So that's a type of trance, the movie trance, because you're so self-absorbed. And that's what movies or characters in movies want to do. They want to be able to move you emotionally. And so that goes into the subconscious mind. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about it. Look, I know a lot of people are talking about the subconscious mind, but I know it. I know it. I can help you with it if you ever want to send me an email, because the subconscious mind is what controls our actions, our beliefs, and our ideas. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. So here's another trance, the book Trance. So scientists solve another Agatha Christie mystery. So if you don't know who Agatha Christie is, she's a mystery writer, or she was. And scientists in Britain say they've cracked the mystery surrounding the popularity of Agatha Christie's murder novels. Neurolinguistic researchers at 3 universities studied more than 80 of her novels and concluded her writing activated a pleasure response. The scientific team loaded Christie's books into a computer and analyzed her words, sentences, and phrases. You see, neurolinguistics explore the relationship between language and brain function. And Christie's language patterns stimulated higher than usual activity in the brain. And this was by Dr. Roland Kapferer, who coordinated the study, and he told this to the Sunday Times newspaper. The researchers concluded that certain phrases such as, "Can you keep an eye on this?" "A day or two," and something like that raised levels of serotonin and endorphins in the brain. The chemicals induce pleasure and satisfaction. Kepferer said the release of the chemicals made her, literally, her writing unputdownable. Very scientific, but I think that's funny. But that's what he said. So Agatha Christie is listed in the Guinness Book of World Records as the best-selling author of all time and has sold 2 billion books worldwide, maybe even more by now. She wrote hypnotically, which induced feel-good chemicals, endorphins, in the brain, such as oxytocin, serotonin, and dopamine. And she did. She wrote 80 plus books. So a lot of people, just like Will Smith, maybe they're walking around in a subconscious trance. Everybody does it because the subconscious is the emperor of your actions. And the subconscious can keep you stuck. So I've been a hypnotherapist for 35 plus years, and I'm going to share with you some of the things that just stood out for me. But this is just a smattering of what I experienced with individuals. So one of them was stuttering. I had performed a stage hypnosis, a comedy stage hypnosis event at Red Rocks Community College, and I had my stars up on stage. They're my subjects. And I turned this one young man into a Rastafarian rapper. I had a lot of props, so I gave him the hat that had the dreadlocks, and I told him that you need to rap the way that a Rastafarian like Bob Marley would rap. So he started rapping, and he was awesome. People were just, they were laughing. It was hilarious. They were having a great time. So when I ended the show, I had a gal come up, and she goes, "My God, it was amazing." I go, "Yeah, I know. This is what happens because even when I walk off stage, I'm higher than a kite because I'm laughing. The endorphins are flowing." And she goes, "No, you don't get it." And I said, "Well, what's that?" She goes, "He stutters so bad in class. We can't stand to have him in class, and we're trying to get him removed." So I said, "Well, look, go find him, because when he was up on stage, he was in an altered state of consciousness, and he was in a different awareness, so he wasn't stuttering. So I could take the stutter away." So I gave her my card again, and she never, I don't know whether she found him or not, but he never came back. And I wished he would have, because I definitely could have helped him in just a few minutes. So I had another client that did teeth clenching, and so I regressed her back to the time that she first clenched her teeth. And regression does work. The subconscious mind will take you back to the very first time that you've ever experienced a challenge in your life. And so this took her back to a time where she had a challenge with her mother. And when we resolved that, when I brought her back out into waking awareness, she no longer needed to clench, because what the clenching was doing was holding back her expression. She couldn't, her mother was strict, so she felt like she couldn't, argue with her mother or express who she was. But when we discovered what was causing the teeth clenching, and that was all in the subconscious mind, the challenge was resolved. And there's situational anxiety. People that have a lot of anxiety. I had a client that was in downtown Denver, and all of a sudden, this huge, huge anxiety piece came over him, and he was holding on to a building. And I said, and the people were just, they were odd. They were going, "What is going on?" He was afraid of falling off. He just, it was an abnormal way of thinking. But what happened is when I regressed him, his mother used to sneak around the corner, and this is where he was when he was holding on to the building. she used to sneak around the corner and surprise him. And so it was a shock, but it kept going on and on and on. And she thought it was being playful, but what happens with the subconscious mind, the shock created anxiety. And so what happens is things get compounded. And that's the same thing that you can do for yourself. If you want to make a change in some sort of habitual pattern, you have to do something over and over and over again. And that's what we do as hypnotists. We state something over and over and over again till it becomes a sort of some sort of circuitry in your neural pathways. And I'll talk about that again a little bit more later. But that's also about memory loss. Memory loss is a lot of times where you don't want to remember something. Maybe there was something very tragic in your life, but it runs your life. And what happened with this was I had a client, and every time she went, she was a college student. She would have to take a test. Her right eye would close down, shut down so tight she couldn't open it, and so she was having a challenge being able to take any kind of an exam. So she came to me, and I regressed her. Well, it came out she was from a foreign country, and her father was very abusive, and he was abusive to her and her mother. And so her mother picked up a gun and killed her father. And so what happened with this, it happened on the right side. And so every time she would become anxious, her right eye would close down to protect her. And it was compounded throughout her life because now she was a young adult. But what happened was the subconscious mind, being the protective part of the mind, also did this anytime she became anxious. Then I had another client that was a sleepwalker. And I know that sleepwalking, look, a lot of people come up and they think they know everything. Well, they don't. Sleepwalking is not necessarily an inherited family dysfunction. I've worked with a lot of people that were sleepwalkers. And I'm just giving you an example of one person. He would wake up in the morning, pick up a knife, and go downstairs and start scraping the walls with the knife. Well, what has happened is like he was experiencing anxiety, and it was due to being an individual that had very strict parental control. So that when I softened that in his subconscious mind. And also, I have lots of self-hypnosis audio programs. He started to play that, and since he doesn't sleepwalk, and he doesn't pick up a knife, and the people in the family aren't worried about that. And then I had an elderly lady come, and she had incontinence. And so all these commercials, all these advertisers want you to know there's nothing you can do, so go buy an adult diaper, which is ridiculous. And I'll tell you why. Because it's the brain that is taking control. It's the subconscious mind. And so I had her tell her mind and state certain kinds of affirmations. Hang on, or hold on. You'll be fine. You can make it. And from then on out, she never had incontinence. So there's a lot of things that you can do for yourself through self-hypnosis. And then also, I'm going to talk one more time about regression. I had a client come to me, and she goes, my husband's blaming me for losing his coin collection. And so I regressed her, but here's the key. She was making things up. And I could tell, even though she was in a hypnotic state, she couldn't find out what was going on. And when I brought her out, I said, this is what's going on. And I said, you don't have any knowledge of where those coins are, so you didn't have anything to do with them. So you need to go back and tell your husband he is probably the one that misplaced those coins. Well, she was afraid to do that because he tended to be very critical, but she went ahead and did it. And it ended up that he subconsciously put him in the safe and forgot that he did that. So there's a lot of things that you can do, but you have to go, if you're going to go to a hypnotherapist, or you can study the trance state yourself, you have to make sure that these individuals know what they're doing. And then I'm going to talk about the wounded child. This would be something like if Will really did hit Chris Rock, which I guess he did. Um, it was the wounded child coming out, and this is what our woundedness does. Our woundedness can sabotage us, or our woundedness can be taking it out on somebody that we think is less vulnerable. And I wrote the book, Revenge of the Wounded Child. And so you might think about picking that one up. I have it on Amazon. But anyway, I talk about the different aspects of how the inner child, when it's wounded, it needs to be able to express itself. And it may be suppressed and suppressed and suppressed, but then something will trigger it. So, continuing on, we have what we call the trance keepers, and those are the institutions, the teachers, the politicians, the doctors, psychiatrists, psychologists, social workers, nurses, etc. These are the trance keepers because they see themselves as representatives of stability in society. Now, some of them break away, but a lot of them, if they've had just regular academia, regular training, schooling, most of them are going to be trance keepers. Then you have the trance breakers. And while the trance keepers serve as a backbone to society because they do make us comfortable, we still need trance breakers. And here's the thing, though, they have to have single minded determination. Yes. So, who are some of the trance breakers? Well, the Beatles. Their arrival triggered the musical revolution of the 60s. They introduced a modern sound and viewpoint that actually changed the music industry. And I know that maybe a lot of you are viewing this video and you're young, but some of these people were definitely trailblazers. And then you had Rachel Carson, who wrote the book Silent Spring to bring awareness to how spraying toxic chemicals was harmful, and one day the silent spring would be such that all the birds would be gone because of the toxicity. So that brought awareness to industry not protecting the environment. And then you had Rosa Parks, who was of a cultural background, and she wouldn't give up her seat on the bus. And so she started to change how we viewed, or not even me, but how society viewed individuals that were of a different culture. And then you've got Socrates. Look, Socrates was a trailblazer. He was a trance breaker. And so, look, they didn't want him around. They kept saying the unexamined life is not worth living for a human being. Then, I talked about the music trance, say with the Beatles, but there's more to that. The music and trance, they're linked in many ways because music has an emotional and physiological effect on our brains. Think about this. Music can carry you all the way back in time and induce a type of waking trance. And drumming purportedly mimics the heartbeat, and thereby it also induces a type of trance. Then you've got the oracle trance. We have to have our oracles. If we are engulfed in the oracle trance, we listen to the news, our scientists, the internet, and advertisers without even questioning the information because we want to feel safe. We want to believe that they know what they're talking about. The oracle trance, it's very seductive because it gives us the illusion that if we were to gather enough information, we can master any problem. So trances are created by the subconscious mind, and there's an infinite number of trances. However, the good news is that a trance can be changed. But so we've got the powerful, powerless trance. Let's look at the Wizard of Oz. You've got Dorothy, who left home, and she's walking down the yellow brick road, and all of a sudden, with all of her buddies, she meets up with the wizard, and then you pull back the curtain, and he's this powerless little man. And so we give a lot of our power away, and this is the victim mentality. And check it out. Make sure that that's not what you're doing so that you can empower yourself to be able to create the reality that you want. Then, of course, there's the cultural trance. Look, I grew up in Canada, and we didn't have the kind of cultural trance that the United States has, or the Africans in Africa, or the Europeans. Everybody has somebody that they need to blame or make less than, and that's the victim mentality, um, so that they can feel superior. And then you've got the group mind trance, which is the mob trance, where you've got a lot of people together. And actually, the group trance, mind trance, can happen with religions, with different um, groups, such as, oh, let's think about it. Maybe Rotary, fraternities, sororities, and so that can also, or even if you follow some sort of guru, this can keep you stuck if you don't observe and become aware of what's being promoted, and you make your own decisions. Here's the thing, though, the fear trance is huge. We are in a fear-based society. The whole planet is basically fearful. And fear can cause you to do very abnormal things, things you wouldn't normally do. And it's a motivating factor. And what happens is in order to move humanity or society, fear is used. Lack. We're not going to have coffee. We're not going to have sugar. We're not going to have water. We can't do this. We can't do that. If you don't do this, then you're not going to be well. You're not going to live because it's a safety situation. Then you've got the workaholic trance. That's the person who works for the money. And they're thinking that they can sacrifice everything until they pass on to the next world or whatever happens to us. And so then a lot of times on their deathbed, they're going, I kind of blew it. I didn't need to work that hard. And then there's the entitlement trance where you've got the haves and the have-nots. You've got the individuals who think they're all that in a bag of chips, and so they look down on people as though they are less than. I've got news for everybody. We all have a heart. I don't care who you are. If you're part of the human race, you have a heart. Even animals have hearts. Then there's the family trance, and that kind of goes into the group mind trance. Sometimes it's hard to break away from the type of thinking that a family has, and that could also be cultural, like Italian or Irish or Scottish or English, or I don't know, just all kinds of different family trances, and you do this or you don't do that. So you have to really think about what serves you. Is this going to work for me, or do I need to go ahead and, I don't know, be someone that has a beat to a different drum? So Carl Jung, he was a protege of Sigmund Freud. He stated, until we bring what challenges us to awareness, we can't change it. And that's true. So here it is. The subconscious mind is running the script. And that might have been what happened to Will Smith. It's running the script. And he didn't know. He said afterwards that maybe it was because of the violence that was in his family. And yeah, he probably needs to address that and find someone to help him with that. But you need to be aware of your inner conversation, and most people aren't. Because the inner mind, which is the subconscious mind, it exercises a certain dominance over your actions. So here's a simple example, an experiment that can help you understand how your mind works and where inspiration, ideas, and creativity come from. Do you live in the past or do you live in the future? A lot of people would say, well, I live right now in the present. I don't live in the past, or I don't live in the future. But I want you to do something right now. At the same time, touch your nose with your right hand and touch your feet with your left hand or foot. No, do it. Do it. At the same time, touch your nose with your right hand and touch your foot with your left hand. You'll experience this as a simultaneous act. You'll think that this is something the brain knows and it's exactly received at the same time. But here's the mystery. It's scientifically proven that you actually live in the past. And how could that be? Well, it takes more time for the signal to travel up the neural pathway from your toes to your brain than it did from your nose. And research shows that it takes 80 milliseconds before information reaches your conscious mind from your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind must always decipher all information first. Why? Because it is the protective part of your mind, and your conscious mind must always wait. So, your subconscious mind rules. If it didn't, then whatever happens to you in your experiences, and if you didn't like it, you can simply say stop, but you don't. That's road rage. Road rage brings something out. It brings something out of the subconscious mind. Well, you can't get away with this, but this is why when something challenges you, your subconscious mind is your emotional mind, and it takes over and logic flies out the window. So somebody cuts you off in traffic, and instead of saying, oh, go ahead, you must be having a really rough day, you go, no, you can't do this, you get chased down or get shot at, whatever. It's ludicrous, because this is the one thing that individuals really need to work on, is what are you holding as far as emotions in your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind controls your total mind, and this controls your emotions, your habits, and your actions. So, the key to your hidden power is to challenge and to change and disengage what you don't want anymore. And it's in your subconscious mind. Hypnosis is real. And you can check out, oh, I don't know, maybe other videos that people have put up. And you can check out even my videos that I did with stage hypnosis. It just blew me away how creative these people were. So how do you change the script in your subconscious mind? Well, you use self-hypnosis or the trance state to induce a new belief. So whenever you think about a new way of being or feeling, your brain begins to fire in new sequences. Neurons that fire together, they wire together. So whatever you want, if you don't like what you have, it's telling you this is what you need to affirm exactly the opposite of that. And it takes about 21 days to do this. So if you continue to persist with a certain amount of magnitude, that's your emotion, and you put your attention, which you focus behind that thought, change will begin to take place. Because you'll install a new idea before the experience, which makes the idea more real in your subconscious mind. So that's why everybody says, like Neville Goddard would say, look, think from the end. Sometimes it's not easy, so maybe just think about what you want, whether it's money, a relationship, some sort of home, I don't know, a car, whatever it is, think about that. Because here's another clue. For example, I bought a Dodge van. And next thing you know it, all I see are Dodge vans because that's where my focus is. Prior to that, I never even noticed it. So you can test this out for yourself so that sooner or later, when you imagine whatever it is, it's going to be the strongest image and the loudest voice in your head. And when this happens, the brain makes that circuit permanent. Yes. And then also, this is when your intuition kicks in. And now you have knowing. So, in conclusion, you are the owner of your mind. And you do have the unlimited power to create anything you desire. Well, I'll be putting up more videos. And look, to break the trance, you must become aware of your inner conversation and change it by repeating over and over and over again in your mind or speaking it out loud the new script to change your trance. That's it. Well, check back or go ahead and subscribe below so that my videos can get out there to help other people. And in the interim, practice this. Thank you.